do, how I'll move through the next 45 minutes. I'll start with our toolbar and our navigation bar at the top. Then I'll stroll through our home page, talking about attendance, which I'm sure you all figured out to use. You're all in the session. Just a review. Then we'll get into your gradebook. How do I set up my categories? How do I create my assignments? Get in the gradebook. How do I add my scores? What do I do at IPR time, report card time? And we'll round out this section with some added features like the calendar, the seating chart, and if you're using classroom issues or referrals, I can address that at the end. Not all districts in Delaware are using. Okay, let's get in. Just a refresher, in that upper right, we do have a toolbar in the upper right, a little bit different than the old Teacher Access Center. Something new, something to know right now where your login ID is. For me, my login ID is support. You will not see support. You will see your first dot last name, your login. Underneath your login, we've created settings. You, the teacher now, can kind of tailor Teacher Access Center to meet your needs. Some bells, whistles here, but there are two very important items under the settings, and I'm going to scroll right to those right now, so you don't forget. Under your settings, the gradebook. You can now sort how you want your assignments to display. In the old TAC, the most recent assignment was to the far right. So if you had a lot of assignments, you always had to scroll to the far right to see them. You can now change that sort and have the most recent closer to the student's name. Very important here under your settings, the auto save. When you're in your grade book in the old TAC, when you would enter a score, it would automatically save. Now, you the teacher, you have a choice. Do you want the score to automatically save like the old TAC, or do you want to manually save or have it save after so many minutes? If you've never come into your settings, and again, how did I get there? Up top under your login, go to settings, under this gradebook. If you've never come here, by default, your gradebook will choose for you to manually save your scores. If you like the auto save, come to your settings and change that. New and important. Other things here, you can see attendance. When I select my attendance, do I want it to default to my list or my photo? Email be copied on your email, and some fun things here. You can make your wallpaper and your background beautiful. Okay. So something new, you get to configure how you want your scores to save in your gradebook, automatically, or do you want to manually save? Under your login and settings. Something else that's new, notifications. The notifications are replacing the messages. Some districts, if you receive messages on your home page, for example, Jane Doe dropped your geometry class September 2nd, and John Doe added your accounting class September 2nd. That would be a message some districts may have configured. Those have been replaced by notifications. Once your building and your district has created notifications, things they think you, a teacher, would like to be notified about, you can subscribe to those notifications. You get to pick and choose what you want to be informed about. The notifications work similar to a text message. As I receive notifications, that number 0 will increase and let me know how many notifications I have. Once I start seeing some notifications, you can go ahead and click your own notifications and those messages will display. Again, the list of notifications will be created either by your district or your building. You'll see your notifications. They're like your reports. You are responsible to view them, to delete them, to read them. They are yours. You need to delete when you're done viewing, just like your report. From this frame, before you can see any notifications, there's a little gear here that takes you to subscribing to these notifications. Now, I just have a big laundry list here of an example, but once your building in your district sets up your notifications, you, the teacher, are responsible to subscribe. So my first example here, if a student changes their homeroom, if that would be applicable at your building or district, you want to be informed. If you don't subscribe. If, yeah, I am interested, let me know. You can choose subscribe. Subscribe means you'll receive a notification within Teacher Access Center. Just like a text message. You have to be on your phone, you have to be in text to get it. If you prefer an email, you can subscribe with email. Pretty simple. If your building or district made a notification mandatory, like the attendance missing submission report, notice teachers, you don't have the ability to not subscribe. By default, you are subscribing, meaning you will receive your notification that you did not take attendance within Teacher Access Center. If you prefer email, you can choose to select via email. Okay, just an example of some notifications your building or district needs to sign. Subscribe to them first, and then they will populate. Please delete when you're done. Second new thing, notification. Allows you to move to another website. The links, you had that in the old TAC, they were under your menu. Help, we know what that does. New feature. In that upper right-hand corner, you can now search for your students. Couldn't do that in old TAC. The search performs like it sounds like. I'm entering the letter G, and by default, it will find students who have been assigned to me whose name sounds like the G sound. So it not starts with, notice David Singleton, there's the G sound in his name. By default, these students have been assigned to me. If your building has given you access to see all students in the building, you can click Show All Students, and you can see some information about students who have not been assigned to you. From this quick search in your upper right, you can just click on the student's name if you want to see more information about that child. The student drawer opens. This replaces the student summary screen, what you were used to in the old TAC. Basic information, their contacts, their schedule. If the student had a schedule for today, you would see displayed, a hyperlink to take you to that child's attendance. There are some buttons on the left. Again, based on what your building has, allows you to see. If I need to see other contact information, a different guardian or emergency contact, basic registration information. If you're allowed to view a report card, your interim, transcript, test scores if your buildings are showing you DCATs or high schools, maybe SATs. Again, if that was in the old TAC, you would see that now. Classwork. Can I see the student's classwork from other course sections? An example of the student drawer. We'll take a look at the student drawer again when we're in the grade book, because it will show us a little bit more information when we view the drawer in the grade book. So new items, the search in the upper right, subscribing to notifications, and under your login, going to settings, defining how you want your scores to save in the grade book. I'm trying to highlight what's new and where you really need to go. Okay. You see we've implemented a navigation bar at the top, similar to Performance Plus. You can drill through to access any item off that navigation bar, or right from your home page. Similar to the old TAC, your course sections, homeroom, activities, if you're assigned a student competency, say a display, if your building or district is publishing news, and your reports. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm sure you all figured out attendance. Quick review. Take attendance, highlighting your course. In the old TAC, if all your students were present, you still needed to acknowledge your attendance. And in old TAC, you click the link that says All P. If you look out in your classroom, all your students are here. Now all you need to do is go ahead and click the icon of a piece of paper. It's an attendance sheet. And by clicking there, you are acknowledging you have taken your attendance. If you look out into your classroom and you see empty seats, students are absent, and you need to note that attendance, go ahead and click the icon see this change feature throughout Teacher Access Center. So you don't always have to go back to your home page. Something else you will see here are these buttons for multiple and for single. Now, teachers who teach 2 or more courses that meet the exact day and period, you will see those buttons. So maybe I teach math, geometry, and predominantly our mainstream students are in this course, and I teach another section that meets the exact days and times of this geometry, but our special ed students are enrolled in that course. And some of your buildings have those scenarios. In that case, you'll see these buttons. Multiple means take those 2 class rosters and merge them into one. So I don't have to jump between course sections to take my attendance and merge into one, and I can move quickly. You'll see this multiple and single in your grade book to merge your 2 class rosters together, and that report card time. Clicking the S for single brings me back to that individual course section. You may have noticed while I was here on the entry list, it does give me a total count of students. You don't have to count anymore. We let you know how many students you have. When taking your attendance, just make sure within that frame in the upper right, there is an icon of a disk. That's our save button. If you want to print the audit report, that is within that frame as well.
766 and 744. 726 and 737 will be in
Attendance pretty straightforward. If you are a teacher who prefers your photo attendance, you could configure in your settings so when you click on the empty chair, your photos display. In the old text, you had seating chart and your photo attendance. They didn't talk to each other. They do now. So you can go ahead and create your seating chart, and then by default, if you're taking attendance by photos, it's your seating chart that will populate. In your navigation bar under class management is your seating chart. Let's quickly just take a look at the seating chart. If it's the first time you are coming into the seating chart, your students will be placed over on the right-hand side. Unplaced students, they are enrolled in your course section. They haven't been placed into the seating chart. You can click and drag and move your students. You can also just click the add all and TAC will place your students within your seating chart, or within this frame, there's a little icon of a year. You can click there and Teacher Access Center can place the students in your seats. Indicate if you had your room set in rows and columns. Do you want the system to shuffle? How do you want the system to place your students? You now can create a seating chart for free movement. Elementary teachers, maybe you don't have your classrooms in rows and columns. You can use the free movement to design your seating chart. Okay. So if you haven't placed your students, again, click and drag, or I can just click all students. Again, I can still click and drag and move them about. Your seating chart now becomes your photo attendance. You can save, you can print, show me my unplaced students. If I have students enrolled and I didn't put them in my seating chart, right here I can switch back to the attendance mode and check my A's and C's and P's. Okay, that was just a quick review of attendance, which I'm sure you have mastered by now. Let's get into the grade book. To enter your grade book, there's an icon right up your home page. It's a black notebook, and that would take you right to my grade book. But we now, before we go to our grade book, we have to select and define our categories. How do I do that? Right now I'm looking at this geometry course, and I can go to my navigation bar, grade book, and I'm going to select setup. We need to go here to select and define your categories. Similar to to the old TAC, I'm accessing setup, and here on my tab, the categories tab. If you're a teacher who uses total points, you check mark. If you're someone who waits, do not select the check mark. Now we can see I already have 5 categories selected. How do I select another category? In the old TAC, there was a big list displaying on screen, and you would just check mark which categories you wanted. Now in TAC 3.0, within this frame in the upper right, it's an icon. It looks like a flag with a plus symbol. You'll click here to add a new category. You can see the top line is highlighted, and now there's a drop down. And you can select your category. Do you drop low scores? All these fields are the same from the old TAC. Is there something different for this category from one marking period to another? If so, you can decide. If not, it's the way I'm setting up this category. It applies to all marking periods. Do not check the marking period. That's how old TAC was as well. And then we click on the icon of the disk to submit, and my new category is listed. I want to add another category. I go to that upper right, click on the icon of the flag and the plus sign, and I can go ahead and add another category. You can see if there's a trash can, TAC is telling you, hey, if you don't want to use this category, you can delete it. There's no assignments with scores associated with it. In the old TAC, there was a hyperlink that said DEL. If you need to edit, make a change about a category, just simply click on the pencil, and you can edit any field for that category.
Okay. Academy or carrying students who are dismissed.
Staying here under the setup, you can click on your assignments tab, and if you miss that feature in the old TAC, I want to enter all my assignments on one page, you can do so here. Again, use that the flag with the plus symbol to add a new row, and you can move forward. I'm going to show you a new feature within the gradebook. When you are on your scores page, new feature that you can just add an assignment on the fly. You probably will feel more comfortable doing so there than coming back to this screen. Okay, let's get into the gradebook. We have our categories set up and defined. Add some assignments, or I can add assignments. So from your home page, now I am showing an icon here for bar graphs. You may not see that on yours, that's okay. But to go to your gradebook, click on the icon of the black notebook, and if you don't remember, you can just mouse over. Every icon explains what it does. Okay, let's get into the gradebook. We added some new features here and changed some things, but more or less it is old TAC with some new features. Don't be alarmed by the colors or the icons. I'll show you how you will perform your actions. It's pretty straightforward. Your students, your alerts. The note, if you use the note, old TAC has a white bubble like a cartoon character talking. Now that's been replaced by a yellow piece of paper. That note relates to the student, not an assignment. Their average, you know what that is. Here are my assignments. The colors are representing a visual separation. So hopefully you can see I have 3 assignments here that are green. It's a visual separation. Anything for me in green is a class assignment. I have 2 assignments here representing in purple. That's my homework. And the blue for me is a quiz. The color does not mean anything. It's just a visual separation so you can see the difference. You can always click in the upper left if you wanted to narrow down and just see the student's average for a particular category, just like the old TAC. Let's take a look at an assignment. When I mouse over, it does give me a little bit more information about that assignment. If I want to make a change to that assignment, just click on the tab here. The assignment drawer opens up on the right-hand side, and I can go ahead and change something. You know these fields. What's the title? What's the due date? Description? What's showing Home Access Center? The categories. The drop-down will only display the category publishing the assignment to happen. Fully shaded is publishing the assignment to hack and the scores. If it's a clear oval, nothing is being published. So we've replaced check marks with the shaded oval. If I made a change to this assignment, and maybe I have this assignment in another course section, I can simply click the copy and choose that course section and automatically make that change. I don't have to go back and forth between course sections and the assignment screen. Once and done. Very quick and efficient. Okay. Under the tab of your assignment, I'm showing 3 icons. You won't see those 3 icons. You see 2 icons. We talked about the shaded oval. Or if you're Dr. Seuss fan, the green egg. This is nice. It's showing me which assignments I'm publishing the Home Access Center and the scores. So I can see all my assignments are publishing except for this one. The assignment is publishing, but the scores are not. You can edit right here. Just click on the egg. Clear egg, nothing's publishing. Half an egg, the assignment published. Whole egg, assignment and scores published. So that's nice. You can see what you are publishing on Home Access Center. You can easily make that change. The other icon you see on the tab is the letter A with 2 arrows. This icon will allow you to mass update or load scores to a particular assignment. So if I'm looking at this assignment and I want to mass load a score, you will click on that icon of the A with the arrow, and you see some options for that assignment. You can update scores. In the old TAC, there was a button that said default grade. So if this is an assignment worth 5 points and I want to give all the students 5, I can quickly do so. If you're on an assignment and you want to clear all the scores, maybe you gave everyone a 5, or maybe you were on the wrong assignment and you loaded scores and you need to clear them out, you can do so. The old TAC, you couldn't do that. You had to go through each score and manually remove. New feature, and the more your buildings grow to use Performance Plus, if there's an assessment in Performance Plus and you want to take the scores the students received on that assessment and you want to load that to an assignment in your gradebook, you can do so. And the last item, and very new, import scores from a file. If you are a teacher who maybe has an Excel spreadsheet outside of Access Center where you're maintaining some scores, you can now load that to your gradebook. One thing you need, that student ID needs to be in your file. So you can load a score from an outside file to your gradebook. Make sure the student ID is in your file. Again, loading, mass loading, or updating grade for you is that icon of the letter A with 2 arrows underneath your assignment tab. Okay, pretty straightforward to enter your scores. We just click in the cell and I can use my down arrow. Notice when I'm doing so, those cells now have a little black triangle within them. That's the system telling me I need to save. So I have my gradebook set to manually save. So right now I entered a 5 and a 4. The system did save it. I will need to go in the upper right, click the icon of a disk to save those scores. Now if you configured your gradebook to automatically save, no black triangles for you. Okay. If you're a teacher who wants to enter a comment about a student for a particular assignment, make sure you're in that cell. And when you're in that cell, in that upper right, we've consolidated all our reports. In the old TAC, they were at the top. There are various buttons. Now there's a drop down. And when you click on that drop down, you can choose enter score comment. And it knows I was looking at that student for that particular assignment. And I can go ahead and enter my comment about that student for that assignment. We know if we click publish, that comment can be viewed in Home Access Center. gradebook, we talked about the save. There is a icon here, but here, if you want to modify what columns are displaying, in the old TAC there were little triangles on each column so you could collapse or expand. Now if we go ahead and do that here, we can pick and choose which columns we want to show. Maybe I'm a teacher and I don't want to show the notes. Well, I see that column, I don't ever write them, I can hide those. And we added a new column called performance. Let's take a look. What does that performance show? I added the column performance, and it's given me somewhat of an indicator how that student's doing based on the scores of the assignments that student has completed. So it's kind of a nice visual to see how the child is performing.
The following teachers report to the office of principal select.
Okay. The gear, we know what the save does. Here, brand new feature in your grade book. You want to add an assignment right here, and then on the right, the icon of a piece of paper with a plus sign, add assignment. The drawer opens to the right. You know these fields. Your title, your due date, category, again, only what you selected from the setup page. Wait, my published a green egg. Do I want to copy this to another assignment, to another course section? New feature, adding your assignments right in your gradebook. You have to have your categories defined first. In the old TAC, we had some indicators. If a child was absent, it would put a red box around that cell. If you entered a comment, it color code, the cell was a different color, their score exceeded what the assignment was worth. We used different colors in the old TAC. Now in your upper right, you'll see those indicators. We'll click on that exclamation point. And if I'm a teacher who dropped the lowest score of that category, I can click that minus. Now I can see which low score will it drop when it's calculating. Again, if you're a teacher who drops low scores. Let's go back to the indicators. The green arrow will show me where on an assignment the student exceeded the point value. This might be how you give extra credit. The blue arrow show me where a student was absent. So you can see on these dates, when these assignments were due, a student was absent. If I click on that particular cell, where that student was absent, maybe I want to see more information. Was she really absent? Was she unexcused? Was she on a college visit? Where was she? When I'm on that cell and I go back to my drop-down selection table in the upper right, I can choose to view attendance. And it will give me more specifics about that student's attendance code. Okay. The last indicator you'll see is the letter C. Show me where I've entered some comments for students for a particular assignment. If students withdraw from your course section, you still keep those scores in your gradebook, just like the old TAC. But how do you want to view those? In that upper right, there's an icon of a head, where you see the two heads that'll group your students who withdrew from your class at the bottom, be red italicized like the old. The middle, it'll list them alphabetically within your current roster, and the do not show. I don't want to see the students who have withdrawn from my class on my roster. You will always see them, you still own them. Okay. Some more things here in the gradebook. We talked about the change button. I'm done with this gradebook. I can click change and move to another course section. We talked about the multiple and single. If this course meets the same days and period as another course, I can choose multiple and those two rosters merge together. You may have the exact same assignments for both. That's for single. I just want to view one course section at a time. These icons are for our teachers who have competencies. Some of the buildings K-5 may have course competencies linked to a course section. If you're truly using standards-based gradebook where you set up assignments and are linking those assignments to create a grade to load to the competency for report cards, you will have additional buttons up top here. So I can view the competency in summary mode, standards-based gradebook, so I can see this course section geometry has a competency math, and these are my two competencies. I would see the scores if I had assignments linked to those. And I'm not sure right now in Delaware how many elementary schools may be using full-blown standards-based gradebook. Okay. Before I leave the gradebook, two more things I want to show you. While in your gradebook, you can click here in the header and you can sort your students, see how it counts for you. You don't have to count. You can also click on that student and the student drawer appears. Same information we saw from when I did a search and we saw the student drawer. Something that changes. This is where we add a note. So there's two more pieces of information you see in the student's drawer when viewing from your gradebook. The note, and that's where you click to add a note, and missing assignment. It's a quick hit. You can pull up the student, boom, these are the assignments the student is missing. You can still run your missing assignments report, but I think this is a quick hit for teachers. And then I can move through if I'm viewing another student, the student drawer. Okay. So we've taken all our reports and they're down that drop down up above. All still the same that you had in the old TAC. Printable, if you ran the printable. Printable is the one you can export to Excel. You get to pick what do I want on that printable. Their student ID, their real name, am I creating a grid, etc., yada yada. Then I click run, it'll bring up a preview so you can take a look at that printable. There it is, it looks lovely, the printable is great. If I want to export this to Excel, within that frame, hopefully you can see that icon, export to Excel. And it lets me know this will be on my home page in Excel format. Okay, let's click back on our home. Scroll to my bottom here, and we can see here are some reports I ran, and if you run in Excel, you can see the extension, so you know that is the Excel version. Okay, a couple more icons here. What do I do at IPR time? Interim progress report, right on your home page. There's an icon of two pieces of paper, looks like green bar paper. We can click there. Class roster looks very similar to the old TAC. Again, there's the multiple courses, 2 or more courses meeting same time, merge them together, so I can just do this once versus going into 2 separate course sections. If you're loading a grade, your score, the student's average from your grade book, within this frame in that upper right, there's an L with like a recyclable symbol. That is your load from grade book. Old TAC had a button that said load from gradebook. Now it's the recyclable L. We save if you need to change the column. And if you, for your interims, if your buildings allow you to add the free text, we can add the free text. Report card time. Right from your home page, go ahead and click the icon with the A+. Very similar to the old TAC. Based on which mark types you were issuing, will display. That's how your building set up. If you're loading from gradebook, again, we're going to go to that upper right and click on the L with the recyclable symbol. Our Save button. If you want to print a report card, in that upper right, there's an icon to print a report card. And if you in the past would print that report card summary, that nice one sheet, give me all my students and what report card grades I've assigned, your report card summary. Elementary teachers on the call, if you have competencies, whether they're student competencies, like characteristics of a successful learner, or if they're competencies associated with the course section, you'll see this icon. It looks like building blocks. And this is where you can go to enter your competency grade. And we know, like in the old TAC, you could do either by the list format. Here's a list of my students, and right now you can see them highlighted on Victoria. And for this competency group, there are 2 competencies within, and I could key in, depending on how your building is configured. If you are truly using standards-based grade books and assignments are linked to these competencies to create the grade, in the upper right you would click Load from Gradebook. This is the list format. If you prefer the grid, up top there's a button, click grid to toggle between. And this may be the format you're more familiar with. My students listed top to bottom, and the competencies will be listed across the top of my screen. Now I only have 2 competencies showing, but it's the grid format. Same process. I can go ahead and just click in, and I can save. If I had assignments linked to these competencies, I could load, and if I want to print a report card. Pretty straightforward from your home page. Report cards, click the A+, IPR, click the green bar paper, just makes me giggle. Elementary, click the building blocks for your competencies. You can always drill from your navigation bar up top underneath grade reporting, which will take me to interims and report cards as well. If you are a building who's using classroom issues and conduct referrals, you'll see the icon to the right where there's an exclamation point. If I need to enter a classroom issue, student was doing something in my classroom, he sent a text message with his phone, I'm going to handle it myself. It's a classroom issue, but I don't need to refer to a disciplinarian. I'm going to maintain and manage it myself. I could enter that information. Again, if you're using classroom issues, pretty straightforward and very similar to the old TAC on how to enter. Conduct referrals, that allows you, the teacher, again, if your district's implementing the conduct referrals, with a situation with a student, right from Teacher Access Center, I can go to intervention, conduct referrals, type the building, date, type what happened, type my notes, which students were involved, and I can send this referral immediately over to eSchool Plus where your disciplinarians would receive. Some districts and state are using this, however, not everyone. So you may see that column, you may not see that column. Okay. Rounding out here, the high school teachers probably more so, and my navigation bar at the top. Recommendations. If you're using next year, what course would I recommend for my students? They're under the recommendations. Performance pertains to test scores. Last year, did you see test scores in Teacher Access Center, like DCAS and SAT? You would find them under performance. And the last button here, which is new for TAC 3.0, is class management. We already talked about our seating chart. The roster replaces in the old TAC, you had a hyperlink for list, teacher class roster, email. Let's go ahead to email real quickly. If you were using the email exchange in Teacher Access Center, clicking email, in the old TAC, all your courses would display. You would pick and choose which course sections you would be sending emails to. when you click your email here, you need to click the To button up top, and now your course sections will display. So I want to send to both students and guardians within this geometry class, or I can expand. It's exactly like the old tag, and I can piecemeal who I'd want to send an email to. Something to note, if you are using this, by default, it thinks you want to send to students and guardians. Sometimes you might just want to send an email to the guardian. Keep in mind, the email addresses need to be in eSchool, which you are familiar with. Okay. New item under that class management is the calendar. Brand new. This calendar is visible on Home Access Center. Let me just change my month. If you're publishing assignments in scores, if you're publishing assignments, notice you see those assignments. So when mom and dad and the students log on to Hack, they see this calendar. It's a quick hit for them to see what is due, what's coming up. Also, I can see here, last Thursday, I had an event, College Day. What are your favorite colors? Teachers, in your calendar, you can create events. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a calendar with a plus symbol, and you can create an event. Do you want to publish to Home Access Center, and for which course sections or homeroom or what's been assigned to me. Parents, guardians, students see this calendar in Home Access Center. Home Access Center looks different for them too. That in 45 minutes is your TAC 3.0 refresher. Any questions, comments? If you've been in the system, something to be aware of, maybe you already found out, there is a timeout. And the Department of Ed is aware some districts have pointed it out that we're looking at it. By default, if you're idle for 20 minutes, it will time you out. And some districts are speaking with the Department of Ed to have that 20-minute time limit changed. But it's different than the old TAC. It will time you out. So to be determined what that time frame will be. Questions, comments, concerns?
Is that for security reasons?
That, most often, we as a company, SunGuard, have hard-coded the timeout. That was the new feature, but Department of Ed can work with SunGuard to change that time. Just think where your machines are, you're near students, and we don't want to be put in a position. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.